Karoline was asked to leave without an explanation, but she wasn't about to let that slide. She sat at her usual corner booth in the Oak Room, the local bistro she'd frequented for years. This wasn't just a restaurant, it was her sanctuary, a place where the waiters knew her name and the manager always checked in. The day had started like any other. After finishing a meeting, she came here to unwind. The comforting aroma of freshly baked bread mixed with the soft hum of clinking glasses and quiet conversations. From her seat by the window, she could see the ebb and flow of the neighborhood. New businesses opening, construction projects taking shape, the occasional parade marching down Main Street. As she scanned the menu, her mind still racing from the morning's events, she noticed a new face among the staff. A tall, middle-aged man with a clean-shaven face and sharp suit. She had never seen him before, but that wasn't unusual. Restaurants hired new people all the time. When the waiter arrived, she ordered her usual grilled salmon with a side of roasted vegetables, already anticipating the familiar flavors. But before the waiter could leave, the new man approached her table. "Excuse me," he said, his voice low but firm. Karoline looked up, confused. "Yes?" she asked. "I'm going to have to ask you to leave," he said bluntly. Her brow furrowed. "Pardon me. You need to leave now." His voice was more insistent this time, his posture stiff as if bracing for an argument. She glanced around, noticing other diners stealing glances in her direction. No one spoke, but they were watching. Confusion flickered through her, quickly replaced by clarity. Something wasn't right. "Can you tell me why?" she asked, her voice polite but firm. The man hesitated, his hands clasped in front of him. "I don't need to explain." Karoline's pulse quickened, but she didn't let it show. She had encountered people on power trips before, but this felt different. "Actually, I think you do," she said, her voice calm but resolute. "I've been coming here for years. I've never been treated like this. If you're asking me to leave, I deserve an explanation just like any other customer would." The man's lips pressed into a thin line. He glanced over his shoulder at the manager, who stood near the kitchen door, watching but making no move to intervene. That was odd. Karoline had always known him to be hands-on, ensuring customers were comfortable. Why was he silent now? "You're disturbing the other customers," the man finally said. Karoline raised an eyebrow. "Disturbing?" She looked around. People were chatting quietly, sipping drinks, absorbed in their meals. There was no commotion, no disruption. "This is a public place. I'm just here for a meal. I'm not disturbing anyone." The realization settled in. This wasn't just about her ordering lunch. Something else was going on. "I'll leave," she said, meeting the man's gaze. "But only when I understand why I'm being asked to go. I think that's fair." The manager still hadn't moved. His gaze burned into her, but she held her ground. This wasn't just about being asked to leave. It was about respect. "Why am I being asked to leave?" Karoline asked. What complaint could possibly justify this? The manager shifted uncomfortably, debating whether to continue this charade or come clean. For a brief second, Karoline thought she saw his face soften before he masked it again. "I don't have all the details," the manager said, his voice quieter now. "I was just told to handle it. But I assure you, we don't normally ask people to leave for no reason." Karoline took a deep breath. His words felt hollow. "Can you at least tell me who made this decision?" she pressed. "Who gave the order?" The manager hesitated, his eyes flicking toward the man beside her. "It came from the owner," he muttered, as though it pained him to admit it. "But like I said, I don't know the full reason." Karoline's heart raced. The owner? That was a name she hadn't heard in a long time. The Oak Room had been her go-to spot for years, and she knew the owner, a woman named Joan. Joan had always been kind, attentive, and understanding. She had never once made Karoline feel unwelcome. "That doesn't make sense," Karoline said, staring at the manager in disbelief. "I've known her for years. Why would she ask me to leave without any explanation?" The manager glanced back at the man, clearly uncomfortable. Karoline didn't let up. The pieces of the puzzle were shifting in her mind, but something wasn't adding up. This wasn't just a random complaint or misunderstanding. There was something more. The man beside her, who had been eerily silent, finally spoke. "It's not what you think," he said, his voice low but firm. It was just a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding? Karoline echoed. Then why didn't anyone clarify before things got this far? She gestured around. I've been sitting here for over an hour, and no one said anything to me. The man shifted his weight, his eyes darting between her and the manager. Karoline could see that the walls around them were crumbling. Look, she said, her voice sharp. I've been loyal to this place. I've always treated people with respect, and I expect the same in return. If there's a misunderstanding, fine. But I deserve an explanation, not this treatment. Silence. The tension was suffocating. The man seemed to be struggling for a response. He looked at the manager again, who still wouldn't meet Karoline's gaze. But then the manager exhaled deeply, as if he'd been holding his breath. I'm really sorry for how this has gone, he said, his voice wavering. But the owner, she had some concerns about you. Karoline's heart skipped a beat. Concerns? She repeated. She hadn't done anything wrong. What was he talking about? The manager hesitated. I think it's something to do with the way you've been. Well, the way you've been engaging with other customers lately. Karoline raised an eyebrow. Engaging with other customers? Her voice edged with disbelief. What exactly are you implying? The man stepped in. It's not about you, okay? It's just, there was a misunderstanding about some of your interactions with other guests. He swallowed hard before continuing. The owner thought you were making others uncomfortable,